Hi, welcome back to Latitudes Gallery Makeover May. I'm Tasha Cleveland and I have another room view to look at with you today. Today is all about our second big wall, which is bedrooms. So our most popular wall that we get requests for are sofas. Second most popular, the bedroom. And usually it's above the bed. But what do you do when you have a wall directly adjacent to the bed that's also blank? So we're going to look at that combination today with Jennifer's room. Now, we looked at a sloped, so she's got a sloped ceiling as well as a blank wall on the side. Now, we just looked at Amy's room last week, and Amy had a similar scenario with a sloped ceiling. And if you remember, my rule of thumb when you're working with a sloped ceiling is to oversize on the small side so that it's not so undersized on the tall side. So you're kind of trying to find a happy medium, a little compromise in there. And so usually that's what I recommend. And with Amy's room, it makes sense. But with Jennifer's room, if we were to just put art over the bed, we would have this big blank wall with nothing on it. And the problem is that it's going to look like it's an unbalanced space. You can already tell there's a lot more happening over here on this side of the room than there is over here. I imagine there's a table lamp or a floor lamp right here. But overall, this half of the room is much more blank than the other half of the room. And so we want to create some balance there. We need something over the bed so that it doesn't look empty, but we also need something on that side wall. So let's look at how to work that. Now, when we look at Jennifer's room, I'm really in love with a lot of these elements in her space. I love the lighting and how that sort of woven basket mimics the ruching on the bed. Super beautiful, as well as her color palette. It's really, really lovely. So let's take a look at some of these choices that I pulled for her. With her space, what immediately came to mind was botanicals. Jennifer did not request anything specific for her renderings. So I get to go ahead and pull whatever I think works best in her space for Makeover May. That's the fun. It's whatever looks great. And I absolutely am in love with this vanilla dahlia mimicking this lamp. It looks so cool with this repeated pattern in a circular shape. So I do really love that. And I enjoy this peach bird scene. It's got these teeny tiny baby birds. They're probably like this big. Those are tiny birds overlooking the ocean with the islands in the background and a beautiful peach sky. So the only thing is, if we did go with this route, I would recommend bringing in some yellow onto the bed with like a small yellow or gold accent pillow to kind of pull that through. She already has a little bit of gold over here and on this nightstand. So that is a beautiful pairing for this space. When we're looking at sizing, you can see how I've done the larger piece on the big blank wall and the smaller piece above the bed, because if we were to do a larger piece over the bed, it would feel really, really crowded over here. We don't want to feel crowded. The other great thing about the baby vanilla dahlia is that it has a lot of breathing room built into the photo. We've talked about that before. When the photo has breathing room in it, it already allows you to go a little bit larger than if it's an image like this that's busy all over. So I love the tiny little dahlia accent over the headboard. And I went with a square on this because I need the height as well as the width. So I wouldn't want to go a vertical only. That's going to limit on that low side how high we can go. But I also don't want like a long skinny pano. That's not going to feel tall enough. So a square is kind of that happy compromise that we talked about. Let's look at some other combinations. I really, really love this sort of abstract sky over her bed. And what I did is I actually pulled the sky out of a different image. There was blue above and blue water below, but I didn't want any of that because in her case, she has absolutely no blue in her room. I only wanted the gold and the peach and the pink tones. So I really love that over there with that vanilla dahlia. Again, I really like the dahlia on this side of the room too. It just has a beautiful simplicity. So I am curious as I go through these combinations, what your favorite is when we look at all the different scenarios for this room. Let me see if I can just show that one there. I can just show one. Okay. So let's take a look at some of the other choices. Now, my initial instinct on her room was to go with the pink because she has this beautiful pink accent. But I don't want to create a space that narrows you into a specific color palette. So while I really, really love the pink and blush accents of these two pieces, and I really love the espresso trunk color of these trees matching the espresso on the other half of the room, it pulls that dark across. I really love that. This is a good example of the same story, the same paragraph, but saying a different sentence that we talked about yesterday. So when you're working on a pairing for a room, you want to be saying a different sentence, not repeating yourself, but have it still relate to the other item. So we have a detail shot of a flower and a more scenic shot of I think it's like a farm or something. These are all the same cherry blossoms. So you have more of a scenic view of that flower or a pink flower, as well as a close-up view of a pink flower. It's a detail and a wide. So I like that pairing because it's saying something different about the same subject. Does that make sense? And let's see, one more. So this one I liked as well as that one. This one's a lighter and airier version over this one that feels a little bit heavier. So if I were to do Spring Blossom, I might consider only doing that one piece on this wall and leaving the breathing room over here. Now, again, when you send in a photo or we do a live room rendering and a consultation, I like to see the entire room because I can't tell from this photo what is directly to the right of this, if there's a tall bookcase and it's already visually full, and what's to the left. I think I see a window here, but what else is there? So if the rest of the room is nice and empty and blank, then I would need to fill more of these walls. If the rest of the room is already full, we need to remember to leave breathing room. So that's why I always like to see your whole space and how everything relates to each other. That is an important element. We're not just working on one wall. We're not just like tunnel vision above the bed. That's the only thing. No, everything relates. It's a 360-degree experience of your space. All right, last combination, which I think is my favorite, the birds. I just loved the peach and pink birds. Let's see if you can see it. No, you can't see it, so sorry. It is a beautiful picture of some birds in the sky with some sunrise light on those wings. I love the simplicity of this and the built-in breathing room. You see it? And it's pairing with the beach dunes. So this peach sky pulls in some of these peachy pink colors without locking her into a specific color palette because it has so many neutrals in it as well. And the neutrals in this mimic her room pretty much perfectly. So out of my top pairings, it would be the birds and the peach dunes, as well as the sky and the dahlia. Those would be my favorites for your room, Jennifer. Thank you so much for your submission. I hope that this was helpful if you also are dealing with two walls that need artwork for your space and you don't know which wall to pick. Sometimes it's not about picking which one, it's about doing both, but making sure one is a focal point. So one needs to be larger than the other, one needs to demand more attention than the other, and the other one needs to be more of a whisper of an accent. So that's how you work it. Hope that was helpful. If you have not submitted your entry for Makeover May, there's like 5 days left. Stop waiting. Send in your photo. We're getting ridiculous. Get it in there. Go to latitudesgallery.com, click on the tab at the top, Makeover May, and send in your room view. Thanks so much. See you next time.